go slow. This next song is a Filipino song. It's called Imahe by Magnus Haven. So this song means that about two people who found each other but not destined to be together. A bit sad. Hope you like it. Pabalik sa nakaraan, huwag mo nang balikan. Pabalik ka sa tahan, hindi na ko nakakaisip sa isang magandang larawan. Paulit-ulit na binabanggit ang pangalang nakasanayan. Tayo ay pinagtagpo, ngunit hindi tinadhana. Mapaglaro itong mundo, kinalimutan kahit nahihirapan. Para sa sariling kapakanan, kinalimutan kahit nahihirapan. Mga oras na hindi na mababalikan, pinatagpo, ngunit hindi tinadhana. Gusto natin na hindi sa isa't isa. Walang sagot sa iyo, bakit ka mahalaga? Walang babagay sa'yo. Walang sagot sa iyo, walang babagay sa'yo. Sino man sila, walang babantay sa'yo, maging sino man sila. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Bartending Band. Hey, how you feeling? Hey, feeling good?
It's Stevie here.
Freddie doing well? Freddie's good. Freddie's from Technical. We got the bartenders here. Now we need some judges' scores. Now, I think you should get double points for the video too, by the way. That's fantastic. Let's start in the middle this time. Let's start with Erica. We're gonna know. Florin? from our food and beverage director, Ron. Come on, Simon Cowell. Let's go. Ladies and gentlemen, one more time, the fantastic bartending man, Freddie Mercury from Technical. So as our stage team prepare for the next act, we've gone from a group musical act. Next up, we have a solo musical act performing acoustic guitar from Indonesia. Please help me welcome Ferry.
Good afternoon, everyone. Meet my friend Ivan. I have a video, but it's kind of hilarious. But I have a lyrics there. I will sing a song about. I think about this you, how it's my family. Be here in just like 8 months time traveling. You are my family. You are my family. Sorry if I did not catch the lyric. Just want to say that. 1, 2, 3. I see, recognize your face. Haunting, familiar. Yeah, I can see two places. Can't find the candle to the light. Living lifetime, getting young with me. All this entertaining, I wish I've seen the place, but no one ever taken me. Hearts and soul, they fade away. Hearts and soul, they fade away. I swear I recognize your breath. All memories like fingerprints are slowly erasing. You won't recall from that my former. It's hard when you stuck upon say I've changed but not changing at all. Small time predict my fate. Perhaps that one's the one to see. I just want to scream hello. My God, it's been too long. Never dreamed you'd return, but now here you are, and here I am. Heart and totally fade away. Hearts and totally fade away. and two songs. Very good.
Good job, guys. So we got a 10 from Florence straight away. Erica? Ron? So next up we have another dance performance for you. This time it is coming by the way of India, and that is from our Effie Jula Nitin. Please help me welcome Nitin to the stage.
Yeah.
Beat study, picture part of study, boy. Hey,
you feeling?
Fantastic.
How many of you are tired? I'm tired. That was. How do you get the energy for that?
It's the food which we eat here.
Food is fuel. You've done brilliantly. Eh? You feeling good?
Yeah.
You excited to see what the judges?
Yes.
I tell you what, you can pick. Who do you want to start with? Florence generally a good bet for a good score. Look at that, he's taken Ron's two favourite numbers and put them together. That's fantastic. Should we go to Erica? Erica. So far we've got 21 out of a possible 20. Let's see what Ron's got. 10! We're gonna. I tell you what, we've got an 11 at 10 and 9, so we've got a perfect 30 out of 30. So that's a perfect score.
Remember doesn't matter, we all are equal performers. We are equal.
Woo! Fantastic. Looks like you're going to be coming back out later in the show by the sounds of it. Well done, Niven, everybody. So the microphones are coming back out. We do have another musical act for you. We've got a duo coming up next. And coming to us from the culinary team, please help me welcome Anthony and Mart. Good evening, guys. My name is Anthony.
And I'm Mark from the culinary team. I hope you enjoy our performance. We have our own rendition for this classical song from Eric Clapton, okay?
And we are the Creamy Spinach.
Yes. Enjoy, everyone.
It's an evening. She's wondering what clothes to wear. She puts on her makeup and brushes her long blonde hair. And then she asks me, do I look alright? And I say yes, you look wonderful tonight. We go to a party that everyone turns to see.
song is Tagalog song, which is peace. Whatever the color you are, whatever country you came from, we have world peace.
Halina't sumayaw sa ilalim ng araw. Maghawak-hawak ng kamay, isigaw ng sabay-sabay kapayapaan. Kapayapaan. Lupang luwaw sa pag-ibig, naghihintay sa halik ng lalo. Lupang luwaw sa pag-ibig, naghihintay sa halik ng lalo. At sumayaw sa ilalim ng araw. Maghawak-hawak ng kamay, isigaw ng sabay-sabay kapayapaan. Kapayapaan.
Kigali, we are the Creamy Spinach. I love you all!
You guys ready for some votes?
We're hoping to get 20.
20 from Florin alone, I think. Is what let's start. Let's go with Erica in the middle to start with. Okay, fantastic. Florin, you know. 10. And Grumpy. We got a 9.
We hope that we entertained you. Thank you so much, guys. You're
So the stage is being cleared up. We go from music back to dancing now. This next lady, she has made her home for the majority of this cruise on deck number 7. You might know who's coming your way. From the Neptune Lounge, please welcome Christine.
4, 3, 2, 1.
I could have my Gucci on. I could have my Louis Vuitton. But even with nothing on, bet I made you look. I made you look. Yeah, I look good in my Versace dress. But I'm harder when the morning heaven smells. But even with my hoodie on, bet I made you look. I made you look. Stuck in my mind. Stuck in my mind. Stuck in my mind.
Sexy ladies want part with us. Just shake that thing, miss. Can I shake that thing, miss? Da-da-da-da. Jody and Rebecca, woman get busy. Just shake that tune non-stop. When the beat drop, just keep swinging it, get jiggy. Get drunk up, percolate anything you want. Because it's oscillating. But the sexy ladies want.
That's the kind of beat that go.
Estamos rompiendo la discoteca, la fiesta no para apenas comienza. C'est ainsi, c'est comme ça, ma chérie. La 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 la. Francia, Colombia, me gusta. Freeze. De Malvin, Willy William, me gusta. Freeze. Abusada, abusada, vem.
Me make it bounce on the left, bounce on the right. Two of them together, man, I watch me all night. Bounce on the ground, me make it bounce, what a sight.
Bounce up, make it bounce up, make it bounce up, bounce up, make it bounce up, make it bounce up, bounce up, make it bounce up. Somebody down, I gon' get bounced.
from back in the saddle. You're on the front line, everyone's watching. You know it's serious, we're getting closer, this isn't over. The pressure's on, you feel it, but you got it all, believe it. When you fold it up, oh, need you fold it up, hey. Tell me how you sign, baby, cause this is Africa. Tell me how you sign, tell me how you sign, this time for Africa. This time for Africa.
This is a tribute track to our guest services team that created the flash mob at the Mandela Sail Away Party.
Listen to the music, sing oh, oh, just move those left feet, go ahead, get crazy. Anyone can do it, sing oh, oh, show the world you got that fire. Feel the rhythm get louder. Show the world what you can do, you got the moves. I don't know about you, but I feel better when I'm dancing. Yeah, yeah, better when I'm dancing. Yeah, yeah. We can do this together. I feel
Now say 1,000 words really fast. Vodka, good. You alright? Let's start with rum. Yeah. for Christian one more time. Now the next number, if you really want to experience what family life is like on a cruise ship, this next number really kind of really encapsulates that, because we have obviously team members from all over the world. We've got team members from 42 countries on this cruise. We have over 50% of our staff come from Indonesia, about 30% come from the Philippines. This next gentleman is from Indonesia, but he's singing a special song in Tagalog as tribute to his Filipino colleagues. Please help me welcome Romy.
Masilayan, tinataglay ng ka.
Thank you. Thank you.
Amazing. Really, really well done playing. Are you ready to see the scores? Who do you want to start with? Let's go Florin. Let's go Florin, yeah. The scores are between 1 and 10 and you just got an 11. Now we're going to see with Erica.
10.
Good.
All right!
And do you recognize this guy on the end?
Dad!
It's okay, Ron. It's only been a short show. Don't worry. We go.
Whoa! All right!
So, my math isn't the best, but you've just got 33 out of 30. So that is fantastic. So, I think you're going to have to come back out at the end, because I think you might be in the final few for the audience vote. How does that make you feel? So we have one more number this afternoon before we tabulate the scores and find out our winners of this afternoon. So we've just had a traditional type performance. Now we're going to have another traditional performance, and this one is going to be from the Philippines this afternoon, and this is going to be a team effort. You're going to see members of our Seaview Bar team. The wonderful Christine is coming back out to the stage, and we also get to bring a member of the stage team who's normally behind the scenes, and he's coming out to the front, and that is Andrew. So please welcome the Filipino members of the Tinikling Dance.
I love how all girls are move their body. And when you move your body, when you move it nice
Sunitin. The second is Christine. And the winner is Bang.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for coming this afternoon. And one more time, the fantastic performances of our team on board Thunder. Thank you all so very much for coming and well done everyone.
Distinct and unique disciplines. My mother gave me the music. She was a high school choir teacher for 25 years. When I was 5 years old, she gave me my first piano lessons. And that has become my life and my living. I'm so grateful to my mom for giving me that support in that beginning, because for my entire adult life I've been a professional musician. Grateful for that. My father, though, by profession, he was a psychologist, and he gave clinical therapy for about 40 years. I'm so proud of my dad. He's helped so many people throughout his life, people that probably wouldn't be here if it weren't for my dad's help. That was his profession, but outside of that, his passion was rock climbing. My father loved rock climbing so much that he named me Craig, because Craig is the Gaelic word for rock. Isn't that neat? So when I was also 5 years old, my father took me climbing for the very first time in the Garden of the Gods. I want to show you this place. It is truly magical. This is the Garden of the Gods.
Oh.
Isn't that something? About 400 feet high, red rock sandstone formations. This is the center of my universe, a hugely important part of my life, and I'll tell you more about that as we go on. But like I said, when I was 5 years old, my dad took me climbing for the first time. Look how cute I am!
All right.
Yeah. The rope is way bigger than me. Yeah, it was the first day out, my very first time. That's me on the rock, making my way up. Yeah. But I've done it my entire life. It's really one of my blisses in life, one of my greatest passions and joys, and I still do it today, whenever I can. This is just oh, nope, this is Devil's Tower. So, is anybody familiar with this rock? Yeah. Oh, a lot of you, cool. So Devil's Tower, if you've seen Close Encounters of the Third Kind, it's the mountain that the UFO comes out of at the end, if you haven't seen it in person. But it is a real formation. It's amazing. You can see it. It looks like a giant Hershey's peanut butter cup sticking out of the earth. And when I was 8 years old, my father took me to climb that, and one of my claims to fame as a climber is I was the youngest person in history to climb Devil's Tower. Isn't that cool? So, what I wanted to show you next is, I'm still doing it. This is in the Garden of the Gods just last summer. Like I said, this is my power spot, my bliss. Music and rock climbing for me are like moving meditations. You know, we're familiar with meditation where you sit and close your eyes, or even if you stare at something. But there's also moving meditations. Tai Chi is a moving meditation. And rock climbing for me is very much that, because when I'm climbing, I don't think about anything else. I'm so in the moment, committed to exactly what's happening in front of me, that my mind just empties from everything else. And so it's a meditation. The same with music. Well, my dad was 45 when he took me climbing for the first time. My father is now 78, and he still climbs with me. Isn't that cool? Yeah, my dad is one of my very best friends in the whole world, and so is my mother. It's because we share these passions together, but on top of that, they're excellent people, I'm very proud to say. All right, so I showed real talent and promise for this sport, for rock climbing. And when I was 15 years old, I was already climbing at an expert level. Now, a really special thing about my personal climbing career is that my climbing partner is one of my best friends, and he's also family. He's my first cousin. His name is Ken Sherbino. And so, since we both had this passion and this drive for the sport, we started climbing together. Now, there are people that climb alone. They're very few and far between. I'm sure you're familiar with Free Solo with Alex Honnold, who climbed El Capitan alone. Very few people in the world do this, and I personally have mixed feelings about it. It's an incredible accomplishment, but a little too close to death. I love life a bit too much for that. So you climb with a partner in general. And Ken is my climbing partner, so we started tackling some huge climbs together. Our very first big climb was in Rocky Mountain National Park on the face of Long's Peak. It's called the Diamond. And since we had a successful ascent of the Diamond, we decided that we wanted to go to what's considered, I would say, the Mecca of climbing. The biggest level of climbing, the most epic climbs, is in Yosemite, California. Who's been to Yosemite before? Yeah, a lot of you. Amazing place. So Ken and I trained in 2004 to do a very famous rock called Half Dome. Have you seen this rock before?
Yes.
Wow. It's so beautiful. It's a very unique piece of rock. It takes 2 days and 1 night sleeping on the rock to get to the top. But there's a Holiday Inn halfway up. You can see it. It's right there. No. Yeah, you have to sleep on these little ledges that are only about 3 feet wide and sometimes 8 feet long. Not too big. Gets kind of tight up there. Well, Ken and I went to Yosemite, and as teenagers, we set off to do this extremely difficult, challenging climb. This is us as teenagers heading in, all geared up. My cheeks are always pink in all these pictures, I don't know why. There's a couple pictures of us making our ascent up Half Dome. So you can see we've got several pieces of gear on us. We have ropes, we have harnesses around our waists, and we have these different anchors that are there that you secure to the rock as you climb up. Those are all there to catch you in case you fall, and falling is part of rock climbing. It does happen often. Well, this is what the ledges look like where you sleep. Pretty exciting, huh? So this is Kenny, and he's got this silly smile on his face with his eyes covered with his hat because we had a very interesting night. Ken woke me up in the middle of the night and was shivering uncontrollably. He was getting hypothermic. And the temperature had dropped way more than we thought it would. I was actually dead asleep, but he was awake, shivering. So we did the only thing that there was to do. We doubled up our sleeping bags, and I crawled in and laid on top of them. We kept our clothes on. But he finally got warm, and Ken fell asleep and snored away for the next 4 hours. And I didn't sleep one more wink through the night, so I think that's why he's got this silly grin on his face. And he could see how happy I was at the end of that night. But he had enough strength from that sleep to continue on. So the sun came out, it warmed up, we had a great second day of climbing, and at the end of the second day, we made it to the summit of Half Dome. Pretty cool, right? Thank you. It was a huge accomplishment. Now, in this photograph, looking directly across Yosemite Valley, you can see the most famous and the most difficult rock climb in the world. It's called El Capitan. El Capitan is 3,000 vertical feet, and it takes 4 days and 3 nights to get to the top. So Ken and I had our sights set on this, and this is a funny picture. We didn't realize until years later, looking at it closely, there was quite a premonition happening in this photograph, actually. You can see a little tuft of Ken's hair is pointing directly up that way. And a very special, unique person, I think, was being channeled in Ken that day. Of course, Alfalfa from the Little Rascals. Well, this is a real picture of El Capitan. You can see Half Dome was actually off in the distance where we were looking towards the rock. This is an amazing piece of rock. Quite daunting, quite epic, and it's the most famous and most difficult climb in the world. So Ken and I decided that we were going to do this. This was our goal. For any rock climber, technical rock climber, this is the equivalent of a mountaineer going to Mount Everest. It's the top. So Ken and I decided that we were going to train for this for the next year, And at the end of this year of training, we went to an amazing place called the Black Canyon. It's in western Colorado. It's also known as the Black Canyon of the Gunnison. And this is a very different experience if you've been there as a tourist compared to being a rock climber. There's a place where you can look into the rim from the top as a tourist, and it's an amazing thing to see in itself. And then there's also a road you can either walk down or take a four-wheel vehicle to get into the Black Canyon. Now this is a totally different side of the canyon from where climbers go in. And for climbers to get in, you have to descend down these climbers' trails, which are unmarked, they're unmaintained. If they haven't been hiked in a while, they're totally overgrown. It's easy to get lost. It's notoriously steep, full of poison ivy. It's considered an adventure place to climb. But Ken and I thought, what better thing to prepare us for the most serious climb in the world than an epic adventure place like this? So we had trained in places like Moab, Utah, Red Rocks outside of Las Vegas, Joshua Tree in Southern California, Rocky Mountain National Park, and finally we went to the Black Canyon. So we made our way in, finally found our climb after a full day hike, and then when we got on the rock, had a successful first day, slept for one night. On the second day of climbing, about 1,000 feet up on this rock, I took a fall. Now I fell in a very unlucky spot. It was vertical, and then there's a little lip that came out and continued. I fell about 25 feet from my place of actually falling off the rock, and this ledge was about 20 feet below. My foot hit this rock and completely shattered everything below my right knee. So Ken and I thought we'd been prepared for this, that if we need to be rescued, we would call for help. We had our cell phones. What we didn't realize is that once we are below the canyon rim, we lost cell phone service. There's nobody else there at the time. We had no choice but to save ourselves. So what happened after that was 18 hours of self-rescue, marked by courage and determination that changed my life, as you can imagine. And this incredible adventure was made into a TV show on the Travel Channel. The TV show is called Got Home Alive. So I'm actually going to narrate the story for you now with some of the footage that came from the show, but it's going to be my voice. And it is quite an epic story, so buckle your seatbelts, prepare yourselves. This is it. So for myself and my cousin Ken Sherbino, rock climbing really is more than a sport. It's a brotherhood, and it's this very special tie that binds us together.
Ken and I have rock climbed together since we were children.
Speaking of children, my cute baby face. This is me 11 years ago narrating the original show. I think I was really into Backstreet Boys at the time with that haircut, something like that. Anyway, it's almost hard to put into words how special this sport is for Ken and I. Well, on May 18th, 2006, we set out to climb Colorado's Black Canyon. It's a 2,000-foot wall, and it's considered one of the most dangerous climbs in North America. So Ken and I are expert free climbers, and we got into this thing knowing it was going to be pretty daunting, but we had extreme confidence we were going to conquer it. Now the Black Canyon is difficult before the climbing even begins because you need to descend into the canyon. It is notoriously steep, full of loose rock, full of poison ivy, and there's actually places where there's sheer walls you have to rappel, which means to descend down ropes just to get into the canyon. Well, after a full day's hike, we got up on the rocks, our first look at this incredible 2,000-foot wall that we'd be facing. And we had an overwhelming feeling of confidence, even though we knew we would be facing things we'd never done before. And we were going to conquer this thing. So Ken and I are expert free climbers, which means that we use only our hands and our feet to grip tiny cracks that are in the rock. We have ropes, harnesses, and anchor points that are there to catch us in case we fall. But truly, we need to rely on each other to stay alive. Now there's two different roles in rock climbing. There's the lead climber and there's the belayer. The lead climber goes first, and it's the most dangerous point because they're the ones that can take a fall. as they climb, you can see here, we use little pieces of gear that are made to actually fit into cracks in the rock. And then you thread your rope through that. So if you're to fall, that last piece of protection will catch you. This is the belaying function, where you're below, you're feeding the rope to the lead climber. And you can stop the rope in case they fall to catch them. So Ken and I had this incredible first day, and then at the end of that day, the sun was setting. We climbed up about 500 feet. There was a little ledge there. We made camp for the night. We bedded down. We had a nice little dinner, and it was a very beautiful evening. The stars came out. It was a beautiful moon, and it's a very serene sort of situation. Nice warm weather. We slept very well. Well, early the next morning, powered by our fresh legs and our high spirits, we powered back up the rock. We had more than 1,000 feet to climb to get to the top at this point. So on the second day, we had to go through what's called the crux, which is the most difficult part of the climb. This particular climb had two cruxes. One was crossing through some very fragile rock, where you just had to be extremely careful what you put your hands and feet on, otherwise it would break off. We made it through this section, and then we got to the technical crux, which is the most physically difficult climbing. On this climb, it's an overhang. You can see here, it's a section of rock that needs to be climbed under, up, and over. It's one of the hardest things you can do in climbing. Ken set his anchor there, and then he belayed me up to him, and I climbed over this section. It was the most difficult thing I've ever climbed in my whole life, and I made it through though. But above, I really felt I needed to meditate and get myself back together. And about 15 feet below, Ken said he thought he started to notice that something might not be okay, because I was really slowing down at this point. He called out to me to stay strong, keep moving, and I did. Now I'm climbing through some rock at this point that's not that difficult, but very quickly I get into this precarious position where I feel I need to rest, but I can't climb back down, and it's very difficult above me. So I start to feel my body giving out. My hands, which never sweat, started sweating like crazy. I couldn't get a good foothold. I knew I was going to peel off the rock, and so I yelled out to Ken very loudly what all climbers do, which is falling, and then he braced for me to fall. Falling! Took in the rope, and he prepared for impact.
Craig!
So let's ask the young narrator, Craig, again how he remembers this moment going. Craig?
Oh my God.
How was that?
Oh my God.
One more time.
Oh my God.
Okay. That's how I remember it too. Oh my God. I
Craig, are you okay?
My leg was swelling pretty much immediately. It didn't look good.
My very first thought was, well, I'll just get back up on the rock and start climbing.
Maybe I can stand on it. Let me try to get up real quick.
Some weight on it.
Oh, no. There's no way.
So at this point we realized that the climb is no longer about adventure. It's about survival. And we're going to need to make decisions very quickly and decide how to get out of this. We were very low on food and water, and we realized that very quickly we were in the fight for our lives. So continuing up the rock is impossible. I can't climb any further, so we have no choice but to descend down to the ground and then make this incredibly difficult hike out. It's 1,000 feet down to the ground. Now, on these climbs, there are permanent fixed anchors that are metal drilled into the rock. And what we do if you need to get off is you thread your rope through, and then you can descend down the ropes and then pull the rope. This happens about every 100 feet. Well, this first rappel was hellacious. I had never done anything like this in my life. With a shattered leg trying to do this, I went about 5% as fast as I normally could, and every time my foot or my leg hit the rock, I nearly blacked out from the pain. This should have taken us 15 minutes to do this first rappel. It took us 90 minutes to get down. And every rappel after that was just as difficult. It should have taken us about an hour and a half to get to the ground. It took us 8 hours to get to the ground. And a big part of that is that our ropes got stuck several times. So as the sun was setting, it was getting dark, we finally reached the ground. That in itself was a huge accomplishment, and I was so stoked to be down at that point. I thought, well, maybe I should see if my leg is strong enough for the hike out. We've got a long ways to get out. So Ken kind of supported me, and I tried to put weight onto my right foot. If you've ever broken a bone before, I basically broke my leg for the second time at this point. And this was the most excruciating moment of the whole experience. It just kind of scraped and teared along the bone. Well, despite really hot temperatures, Ken and I decided to put our rain suits on. And this is because there was such dense poison ivy, we thought it would be a good idea to try and shield ourselves from the poison ivy with the rain suit. But at this point, we were totally out of food and water. So in retrospect, I don't know if I'd have done the same thing because it made me more dehydrated. As much as Ken could help me, he would, but for the most part, through the night, I was crawling on my hands and knees with a shattered leg. Now, we had several precarious moments, including having to ascend up these sheer walls where there was a rope hanging down. We'd just gotten over one of them, and I was climbing through some very slippery terrain. Right at the edge, I started to slip. Ken grabbed me by the back of my rain jacket, right by the hood. I was holding on to nothing, and my legs were dangling over the edge of this 100-foot drop. If Ken hadn't grabbed the back of my jacket, I would have definitely fallen to my death there. Well, hour after hour, we inched on along the trail, not even sure if we were going the right way sometimes. We would hit a dead end and have to turn back and find a different path. Now, at this point, I'm pretty much on the brink of collapse, and I'm hallucinating quite badly, almost to the point that I couldn't see physically what was in front of me. And then just as I'm feeling like giving out, we heard a faint but unmistakable sound coming from inside a little cave that was nearby. It's water. Yep. I don't know if you've ever been this dehydrated, but one little drop of water is just the greatest thing you've ever tasted in your whole life. It absolutely gave us brand new energy, brought us back to life, and we had what we needed to continue on. Well, we forged on through the night, and 18 hours after the fall, we finally started to reach the canyon rim, and safety was in sight. We knew we were going to live. I like the way Ken describes this moment.
Just elation and just tremendous relief as we emerged out of that canyon. It was a beautiful thing.
It was a beautiful thing. It's like the nighttime was the time of darkness, the time of suffering, the time of blackness in the Black Canyon. And when that was over, that we would come back into the light. So the sunrise really signified the end of the endeavor and that we'd gotten through, that we were going to live. Well, Ken and I made our last mile of hike outside of the canyon. He aided me through this pretty tough terrain. We got to the car and I was so happy to be there. I just threw off my helmet and gave him the biggest hug I've ever given anybody in my whole life. Happy to be alive. Well, Ken rushed me to the nearest hospital, which is in Gunnison, Colorado, where we did learn that my leg was broken in 3 different places. But right after I had my surgery and get my cast on my leg, I'm back climbing again. Can't keep this guy down. What'd you think? Wow, sure is. Well, I have 2 favorite parts of telling this story. Number 1 is when I basically break my leg for the second time and everybody in unison goes, "Oh!" My second favorite part is when you see me climbing with a cast on at the end, everybody kind of laughs and goes, "Ah, what an idiot!" Well, I want to tell you about why someone would ever climb with a cast on. This is a very important part of my story, an event that changed my life completely. So the Denver Post, which is Denver's main newspaper in Colorado, they wanted to do a front page article on my story. And they sent down a photographer to Colorado Springs to take photos. And they said, "Meet me in the Garden of the Gods, bring your climbing gear, and we'll take some photos." Well, we're sitting there, and I've got my cast on my leg, and it's all below my knee. So I'm looking